Good morning, folks. This is Tim Ealer. Hope y'all doing well today. Today is the 22nd of November, 2025. And as promised, I'm going to go over a little more detail about the polar vortex and all the talk about what's happening there and how it's going to impact our weather in the United States. And let me bring up my pen here. Forgot to do that real quickly. All right, there we go. So this is an animation of the polar vortex from, you know, top to bottom, or bottom to top, as if you will. Uh, so you're kind of asking, hey, what is this thing? Well, it's just an animation of a 3D structure, right, of the polar vortex. And as it plays through, it goes all the way out till December 7th, right? So let's stop it. Let's see if I can stop it here. So go a little bit further. You can see at the beginning. Okay, so what is a polar vortex? Well, it's a semi-permanent feature at the Arctic Circle that normally is relatively elliptical in shape and keeps the Arctic air bottled up to the north, right? But during different times of the year, especially in the wintertime, of course, it's more impactful because um, cold air is bottled up there, and the polar vortex is disrupted, right? All right, so that's what happens, right? It gets disrupted, cold air is dislodged, and can be shunted down. This is the continental U.S. down here, or to other continents, right? Depending on how the polar vortex is distorted, right? And so, uh, excuse me, my teeth are bothering me this morning. Um, so anyway, that's a little explanation of that. So let me stop it here. You can see it's how it go through time and how it loses some of its symmetry here, especially in this area. It's not even around anymore, right? And we see some some of the parts of the vortex impacting the fit on the U.S. I know this is kind of a yucky drawing, but you see what's happening here, okay? Move through time. It's kind of stretched this way and this way, right? You see it here? What that's going to do is bring cold air into Canada, right? And into the much of the United States down here, okay? And this is 7 December, all right? And this has been well advertised over the past, couple weeks now. And I think in reality it's going to happen. The degree of cold air, I think, is going to be pretty bad, pretty cold out west, all right? And we'll go over that, right? But I want to show you another way to look at it here, okay? This is the GFS depiction of what the polar vortex looks like, okay? And the different centroids and colors here are depiction of the different pressure levels, right? So the yellow is way up there, right? And the the dark brown is closer to the surface, All right. So, not that it's close to the surface, but we're still talking about pretty high up in the atmosphere. You see how the highest levels really dip down into the continental U.S., especially along the west coast, the western part of the U.S. here. All right. And these are the centroids, right, of the polar vortex, different pressure levels. So see how it's just stretched out. It's just all over the place, right? It's not very circular. All right. Although this starts off further to the north, right? I don't pretend to know everything about this, but looking at it, we look at 0 here, move through time. All these move further towards the North American continent, right? See how far south this dips? So I think that's a good proxy for what's going to happen, guys. You know, as far as cold air coming into the continental U.S. You see what's happening here, even more so. These other pressure levels move further into the continental U.S., right? We go back a little bit. See what's happening here. Go through time. It kind of retreats a little bit. See how it really pushes this way. Where if you go back in time, see where it is, 29 November, kind of retreats some. See how it kind of shifts all the way around this way. Okay, so you know, this is a really good representation of what's going on here through the first part of December. And there's been a lot of talk about the Madden-Julian Oscillation as well. And I'm going to go over that and talk about what it means and how, if it interacts at the same time we have this cold air pushing in, we could have some really crazy weather in the coming weeks. So I'm going to talk about that next. So as promised, this is the Madden-Julian Oscillation chart, and it's a pain in the butt to explain, but because even for me it's hard to really, it's a technical document that you almost need a degree just to analyze, right? But in general, these are different phases, right? So you have phase 2 and 3, which is the Indian Ocean, right? And this is amplitude of the MJO. So what is the MJO? It's rising air that starts in the Indian Ocean, right? And generally speaking, propagates eastward, right, through the maritime continent into the Western Pacific, and eventually into the Western Hemisphere, and then starts over, right? So, well, starts over, okay? And these numbers are the dates. So we're looking at the 11th November. See, it's moving pretty quickly here. We kind of, this, and up till, let's see, looking for the 21st. The 20th is right here. So it's kind of at an amplitude loss right now, at least according to this model. And you see up here all the different model runs, and this is the description of them. And what you want to see is some kind of agreement between them all, right? So the problem has been because of the persistent La Nina pattern, which is a reversal of the, you just think of El Nino as warmer, rising air, and La Nina as cooler temperatures at the surface of the ocean in the Western Pacific, which is a competing factor against the rising motion of the Madden-Julian Oscillation, right? So you have these two competing things in the Western Pacific, right? You have the MJO trying to move westward, eastward, excuse me, and the La Nina is trying to push cooler air and cooler water to surface, okay, which is cooler air, really, above it, because there's cooler water at the surface, right? So it's a competing against the rising motion, right? So that's been what's been going on during this tropical season as well. The past tropical season, the MJO phases really had trouble making into phase 7, 8, and 1. Okay, so because of that, did that mean we didn't have tropical storms and hurricanes? Then maybe the MJO wasn't as high in amplitude, right? So amplitude is this deflection of this way. Okay. Now, in this plot, the GFS plot is projected to gain amplitude, move through phase 6 into phase 7, Western Pacific, right? The latter part of November, and generally move relatively quickly, then slow down some, and then move into phase 8, which is Western Hemisphere in Africa, and this is maybe over here in Africa a little bit more, right? You get over here in this area. Oops. All right, so what I'm going to do is go through each MJO forecast here, okay? So NCP, which is the National Centers for Environmental Protection, GFS version 12. This is not the extended, this is like a daily run, okay? So this is as of yesterday. So I'll have another update today sometime. Kind of following what the GFS track is, all right? So, and this is the same one with a GFS with bias correction. The GFS likely has a known bias, and most models do. Okay, so but it still projects MJO moving eastward through the Western Pacific through the first part of December. All right. Then the GMON, which is the National Centers for Environmental Protection, GFS extended daily, day 1 initialization, which is the 20th. Well, the 20th November. So this is monthly. So you have it starting here, moving to the east, slowing down some, but continue to move through the Western Hemisphere right around Christmas time. So yeah. Next one. This is the CFS, which is the National Centers for Environmental Prediction. All right. This is through the 20th as well. Shows roughly the same thing. Okay. So this is bias corrected as well. Okay. CMET, Canadian Meteorology. It doesn't go out as far. They're pretty much the same thing. I mean, they all agree, at least in the short term and in the long term, really. Japan Meteorology Agency, pretty much the same thing. European. It's surprising to see the European is in agreement pretty much with where it's going to be compared to the GFS. Yeah. So, and you can see all the different members, the spaghetti plot here, in yellow, right? So ECMM is a bias corrected run of the European. It shows roughly the same thing, although it's not extended. EMON, medium range, okay, the 20th November through the 21st of December. And you compare that to the GMON, less amplitude, a lot more members in the GMON, right? The 51 or more. It seems like there's more than that, but less amplitude than the GFS products, which not surprising, but still it shows a signal there. All right. This is a different European run, which is has even less amplitude, but it's still a signal. Okay. Um, Australian kind of follows along with the European with less amplitude into phase 8. And this is a bias corrected version of Australian. So what do you take away from this? If you split the difference between them all, we're likely to have, at least according to models, an MJO signal moving into the Western Hemisphere, the middle part or late part of December. And next we're going to talk about how that might impact the weather in the United States in the coming days. So here's a document, excuse me, from the Climate Prediction Center, issued on the 17th, probably be issued again on the 24th. It depicts the MJO here, and they also state there's a good agreement, model agreement, favoring continued installed MJO. Activity will have varying amplitude over phase 6, likely tied to ongoing destructive interference with a La Nina base state during the next 2 weeks. And then the longer range showed a resumption of eastward propagating MJO in the Western Pacific, possibly reaching the Western Hemisphere. All right, so pretty much what we've been talking about with the La Nina interfering with it, moving further to the east. Okay. So let's just say that MJO is moving through the different phases, right? This is a comparison of the different phases and the impact on temperature, right? Shows the different temperatures, phase 1, phase 2, phase 3. The warmer colors, of course, warmer temperatures, cooler colors, cooler temperatures in the different areas, right? So we move to phase 8. Let's just say phase 7. So we have that cool push of Arctic air All right. In addition to the MJO phase, let's just say they hit the same time. They reinforce each other, right? So you see what I'm talking about here? The cooler temps and warmer temps in the southeast. Is that exactly what's going to happen? Not sure, but looking at the forecasts, it looks like that supports it. Okay, so phase 8, generally cooler temps in the northeast and northern high plains. Out west, let me make my pencil a little bit smaller here. Um, so, yikes. All right. So, sorry guys. Make this smaller. I can't make any smaller than that. Let's try this. All right. Yeah. So when we look at phase 7 over here, this is significance. The right hand side shows a measure of significance for left hand side anomalies, right? So purple shade indicates areas in which the anomalies are significant at the 95 or better confidence level. So um, phase 7 confidence is highest for the anomalies, right? The red shades, not so much. And the same down here. We're getting to phase 8. The confidence for the anomalies is greater in the northeast and the northern tier compared to the middle part of the country here. But you get the idea, right? So we move into phase 1, which is the phase before it returns to the Indian Ocean, right? So cooler than normal temps out west and warming back in the southeast. So, for the southeast, the phase 7, 8, and 1 aren't that favorable for cool temps in the southeast. In the phase 2, you see here how it's more favorable for the southeast for cooler temps, and the northern tier of the U.S. less favorable, right? So as we move towards these phases, so we're about in phase 6 right now, which explains the warmer temps for most of the U.S. So if we go back here, see we're in phase 6. All right. Okay. So precipitation in the different phases, right? So we're in phase 6 right now. This isn't like all the different things that occur in the atmosphere, things meaning the atmosphere is really complex, guys. And this isn't one factor, but it is a contributing one, okay? And it's a big part of the atmosphere circulation, right? So where is the most precipitation favored? And you see the areas where they're favored, right? In phase 6. And here's the positive and negative anomaly correlations based on color, purple versus red, orange, etc. Moving to phase 7, that precip area moves further east, more precipitation is favored out west. Moving to phase 8, you see where the most precipitation is favored in the green. Okay, and then phase 1 is where we really get into a favorable precipitation regime for areas where they really need it, especially in the southeast. Okay, for most of the U.S., it's favorable. But if you move back, you can see why, partially because warmer air is propagating up in the southeast and the north, and cooler air in the west coast. All right, so that's a long explanation about that, but I hope that's helpful about what the significance of the MJO is. So this is a graphic from the Climate Prediction Center talking about the upcoming normal temperatures likely for portions of the CONUS. Excuse me. This was updated on the 21st of November, 2025. You can see where the below normal temperatures are anticipated here, the 27th through the 1st of December. For most of the northern tier in the northeast U.S. and the southern to southwest U.S., likely above normal. All right. Excuse me, my allergies and just it's not that good. Took some Benadryl this morning. Hopefully, I'll feel better soon. Below normal temps, you can see where they're leaning towards here with a lot of confidence of below normal temps up here. The 29th, the 5th of December. So, cooler temps to begin this 6 to 10 day period for the northern tier, milder along the west coast, right? And this heavy snow graphic is here as well, which shows you where the potential for heavy snow is and the dates. And I'll show you a different graphic of that in a minute. But hey, the experts are talking about this, and I'm talking about it, and I think it's we're getting more confidence that this is actually going to occur, and the data supports it, right? So cooler temps may persist in at least mid-December over the northern tier. Okay, so that's on the experts, guys. So yeah. So here are the hazards for day to 14, and we talked about this briefly already, right? But this is valid the 29th through the 5th of December 2025. Heavy snow along the front range of the Rockies here. Maybe right over the Rocky Mountains, 29th through the 1st, 29th through the 30th, up here in the Northeast. Heavy precipitation expected, possible the 30th through the 3rd down here in the Southeast, and flooding possible in the same area, that hatched area there, okay? So now we look at the precipitation risk of heavy precipitation, okay? Moderate risk here in the Lower Mississippi Valley, surrounded by slight risk. Okay, so a moderate risk at this stage is pretty significant. Okay, for this area. Well, it's significant in general because they don't put out moderate risk unless they really have a pretty good confidence that it will happen. All right, so you need to be mindful about this. This is after the Thanksgiving holiday travel season, so that's good. But yeah, snow probabilities. This is a lot on this map, isn't there? So you have moderate risk in the favored areas, the lake effect snow areas for heavy snow, and surrounded by a slight risk in these areas where the dots are. We have that moderate risk we talked about, and then a slight risk along the purple dotted areas, right? Wind probabilities, slight risk of high winds all along and inside this dotted brown area. Temperatures, still a slight risk of hazardous temperatures down here in the deep south on the 30th through the 5th. So now this is the updated 6 to 10 day temperature outlook. All right. So this was issued yesterday. It'll be issued. They issue these every day, so I like to show this every day. All right. So yeah, warmer temps up here in Alaska, which tends to, when we see that, we tend to see cooler temps in the continental U.S. So where you have the darker blues, there's more confidence of below normal temps during the period. Where you have the darker oranges is more confidence in above normal temps during the period. And then you have the near normal in between, right? Florida, still going to be warm, okay, which not a surprise. All right, precip. Central part of the country looks to be have above normal precip during the period, the 27th through the 1st. With the eastern U.S. and the western parts of the western U.S. near normal, with less chances of above normal precip in the southeast. Unfortunately, it just been so dry. We got a little rain yesterday, but not much. 8 to 14 day temps. Quite a change, guys. All right, we look at this. The cold temps really look to push deep into the south, the deep south, right? And this is likely what's driving the hazardous temperature outlook down here. Deep cold moving down here. My oldest daughter lives out here in Aurora, right? And she texted me last night with a possible temperature around this time of being like a high of 18 and a low of like 3. And, this data supports that, even though it's 9 or 10 days out, right? But you see what happens here, right? And typically these scenarios don't favor a total clear out of the warm air here in the east, because of the Appalachians and things like that, unless the high pressure that's up here moves this way, when we get when we get a more favorable, push like this. Even off the Gulf, it's not as good. But if you want to get cold air really down into here, you got to go east of the Appalachians, right? And so that's not the way this pattern is right now. So precip above normal for most of the nation and along the west coast. Below normal chances for probabilities are leaning towards below normal precip, drier than normal, and what of the normal moving to the east here, like we talked about, right? Now we do week 3 or 4, the 6th through the 19th. Cold air staying bottled up to the north here. There's a boundary setting up, right? Warmer temps likely to hang on here in the deep south. So that cold air push down to Texas is likely to move back to the north some. And there's less confidence in where the heaviest precip will be this far out. So yeah. Next, I'm going to go over the, where the forecast for the temps and the anomalies from the URAL model, which I think is performing pretty well right now. So this is the Euro AI model showing temperature anomalies for the continental U.S. And you can see right now how things are almost above normal for most of the country. All right. And especially up into Canada. All right. We go through time here. That warmer air hangs on. right? The anomalies above normal through the 25th. Some cold air pushing into the north here for most of the nation, cools off some. Okay, this is around Thanksgiving. Not terribly cold, right? But you see where the coldest air settles in here. The Mississippi Valley, Ohio Valley, warming up along the Intermountain West to the West Coast, right? That cold air shifts out. Then you really get a cold air push here. The 29th, cold front, cool air hanging on there in the east. You see the cold temperatures here. 20, possibly 30 degrees below normal here. Near normal on the East Coast. This is the 30th, Sunday. So, you know, if it's normally 30 degrees, it could be potentially near zero where this shows up, right? You see what we got here. This is your first initial cold push. Look how warm it is up here along the East Coast. Cold front dipping way to the south. Look at the anomalies up here, how warm it is. 30, 40 degrees above normal. If we switch to the actual temps, let's just look at that real quick. '60s, '70s, all the way up into the Northeast. Air temps in the negatives here up in the northern U.S. If we go back to anomalies, all right. So along up into Alaska, warm along the west coast, that cold air pushing down to the east of the Rockies, right? Cold air finally pushes into the east, warms up a little bit. Cold air pushes in the northeast. And then on longer term, the nation warms back up again. So, yeah. So we all want to know what the models think the snowfall is going to be, right? This is total snowfall. All right. Model total snowfall through the short term. See where the boundary is here. This is total accumulation 10 to 1. All right. So the most snow is expected up here in the northern tier of the U.S. and up till after Thanksgiving, right? Sorry for the south, not getting a lot here. You'd see where we might get some snow. The first part of December, maybe snow on the front range of the Rockies. Lake effect favorite areas, Appalachians. But yeah, we got a major battleground setting up, and we just don't know exactly what it's going to be. But yeah, it's here the most precip total, right? And this is the ERAI model. So, I mean, tell you what, I'm going to spend a little more time here, and I'm going to put a timestamp and go over the surface features as well. All right. Next. So I'm going to start this surface map. This is a European because it shows, I'm using the European because it shows snow and rain. AI doesn't show that. This is starting on the 24th, which is Monday. All right. So rainfall ongoing here. All right. We move through time. It's cold air pushing down to the south here. This low moving to the north, getting stretched out. Some rainfall and snow on the backside of this low. as a trough digs, right? That low moves up to the north, right? Really stays up there, you know? And you have this northwesterly flow favoring lake effect going like this right over the lakes, right? So here's your 540 line, which generally indicates the freezing line at the mid levels, right? That's not your surface temperatures, okay, guys? So generally a west southwest flow down here, right? Along the west coast, you got high pressure right now up here, right? Make this a little bit larger so you can see. Okay. Now move forward further in time with this. See the cold air up here. Low pressure developing on the front range here. You can see all this snow expected, right, into the Rockies. This is a crazy setup. You see the high pressure, strong high pressure off the East Coast, which is really creating this intense pressure gradient. Look at the height lines here, how closely packed they are. Crazy southerly flow coming in here, right? Along the boundary here, man, this is crazy. How this is setting up. See how much snow is occurring on the northern side of this, right? Pretty interesting setup if this really happens. This is the 1st of December. All right. Trough digging in here. Deep high pressure in the south. Low developing here. Really could have a bad ice storm wherever this sets up. Okay. Look at the ice expected here all the way into Texas. This low finally moves out. You have the indications of some blocking up here, right? And this overrunning cold air getting freezing precipitation here on the backside. Snow, right? This isn't exactly where it's going to set up. This isn't a forecast, guys. Just generally going over this, all right? See how it shifts to the east here? High pressure holding on. So we could end up having, wherever this sets up, see the energy transfer offshore? But it looks like it's pretty progressive right now. So another low maybe developing here in the deep south. But then that's the end of the run. And likely warmer than it was. You see the 540 line is sort of to the north there, guys. So, real quickly, I'm going to go over the excessive rainfall outlook as well, and the severe weather outlook for the next few days, and that'll be in the video today. As far as excessive rainfall goes, less than 5% in all areas today, which is good news, right? For tomorrow, heavy rainfall expected in Texas again, surrounded by marginal risk with a slight risk here. So this is a flooding risk chances, right? Within 25 miles of a point. Refresh this. That moves further to the east, slight risk, marginal risk here. This is the 24th, which is Monday. 25th, which is Tuesday. Marginal risk here. And the Alabama, Georgia, Tennessee, North Carolina. Area, right? And then the system, it really loses its punch here in the east, and we have a little bit of a threat here on the west coast. Far severe weather, looks like today just a chance of general thunderstorms indicated up here, and that threat returning to the Texas again in the next 2 days and moving further east here. And so if we look at that a little bit closer for day 2, tornado risk less than 2% in all areas. Whoa, I don't know what I just did there. Sorry. Hail risk, mostly driven by hail risk and wind risk. Okay. Day 3, that's where day 3 risk is. Probably gonna have a hail risk and wind risk at least, and maybe a tornado risk as well. We'll talk about that tomorrow. Appreciate y'all spending the time to watch this. Like I said, I hope that you got something out of this, and hope you have a good weekend. I'll see y'all tomorrow.